I don't know why, but Nikki told me she wants me to talk about foxes. I mean, I love foxes, don't you? They're all cute and fluffy and totally survivors. I mean, how many animals have adapted to our urban way of life in such a cute way? And foxes are, as I'm sure we all know, small to medium-sized omnivorous mammals belonging to several genera of the family Canidae. What's that?
No, Kate, stop. Oh, Fox News. Karl Rove on Fox News.
I've got the wrong fox. Well, that makes a lot more sense.
Seriously, can't get the bloody staff these days.
But first, notifications shooting through every screen. Oh girl, subscribing down those dusty channels. Take it click to click, subscribing through the wilderness. Around the world, the trip begins with a click. Subscribe if you want to. Subscribe. Okay, I'll stop. I'm sorry. Transport Evolved's proprietary blend of fresh as a daisy news, reviews and context is supported by viewers like you and by me absolutely murdering song lyrics. So if you'd like me to stop, which I'll admit is quite likely, or continue, hang out till the end of the video when I'll tell you how you can support the channel. For those of us who like our news at least reasonably factually accurate and with less bias than a political speech, Fox News is something that, well, rarely features. While every channel has its bias, ours included, although we do our level best to keep our news reporting unbiased, Fox News wears its heart on its metaphorical sleeve, and that heart, well, it's never been pro-EV. And as many EV owners know, as gas prices have spiralled upwards, talking about the benefits of EVs has been a tricky line to walk as an EV owner. Advocating for the transition can come across as, well, being disconnected from the realities of other people's lives. So when Senator Debbie Stabenow made the perhaps unfortunate decision to talk about her, quote, electric car and comment on how that had unlinked her from being beholden to gasoline prices in a Senate Finance Committee hearing, Fox News, well, they went all ShoutyBob on the EV world, with Karl Rove even digging out a cheat sheet whiteboard in an attempt to seemingly be a knockoff Katie Porter. The only problem is his numbers were, well, maybe he'd broken out a Pentium Pro because those numbers weren't accurate or representative. So we're going to take a look at what he says and whether it actually has any basis in reality. His first point is that EVs are expensive. I'll hand over to Karl here for a moment.
Kelley Blue Book says the average cost of an electric vehicle is $56,400. And the average cost of, let's say, a compact SUV, sort of, remember, most EVs are small, so I've chosen a compact SUV, $31,500. That means her car cost on average $24,900 more than the car that an ordinary American might buy that was gasoline fueled.
And you know, here Karl and I do agree on something. EVs are expensive, more expensive than they should be, but that's a long discussion between automakers, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, and automakers who target markets other than the US where the EVs are cheaper. But in the US, at least, despite what Karl says, EVs are not small. Sure, in the days of the Think City over a decade ago, most EVs were small, but these days, to accommodate the battery packs for the range many desire, most EVs are commodiously sized SUVs, so much so that whenever someone announces another EV that's an SUV, you can probably hear my anguished wail over in Europe. Not only that, but the price he's quoting isn't the average car price, which incidentally is, according to that self-same Kelley Blue Book press release, $46,526. Nor is he comparing like with like, because, by a vast margin, Tesla's outsold every other EV on the market. In fact, last year the Model 3 and Model Y together sold 11 times as many cars as the next biggest seller, the Ford Mach-E. So to look at the actual price difference between an EV and a gas car, maybe let's try looking at the cost of an equivalent gas car to a Model 3 or a Model Y, rather than comparing an Econobox with a fancy car. While I wouldn't exactly describe Tesla's Model 3 and Model Y as luxury cars, maybe more premium cars, the nearest Kelley Blue Book conventional vehicle category does seem to be, quote, luxury. The average selling price for a mid-sized luxury SUV stroke crossover, according to Kelley Blue Book, is $69,608, and the average price for a, let's be generous to Karl here, an entry-level luxury car, perhaps the nearest equivalent to a base Model 3 in gas car terms, that's $51,539. Now, despite the fact that the Model Y outsold the Model 3, let's just be nice to Karl here and average the two. $60,573. That's odd. That suggests his EV average price is massively skewed by looking at more expensive cars, not, say, attempting to compare like with like. Most curious. Oh, and that number he's citing, it doesn't take into account the federal tax rebate, which several EVs are still eligible for, so you might get to knock $7,500 off the sticker price. You might want to mention that, Karl. So, while it's a fair point that EVs are too expensive and NHTSA should let folks import cars that meet reasonable safety standards from other countries to encourage competition, it'd really only be fair to pick on Senator Stabenow if she'd, say, bought herself a shiny Lightyear Zero, or maybe a Model X, or even a Model Y, perhaps. Only she didn't. That super expensive, super fancy EV that Senator Stabenow drives, it's a Chevrolet Bolt EUV, a car that currently starts at $28,195. It's weird how this argument breaks down at the very first, very small hurdle of using some numbers that actually relate to one another, but let's continue, Karl. I hear you want to talk about fuel costs.
Fuel per cost per mile. This is from the Department of Energy, the U.S. Department of Energy. It says it costs roughly 45 cents, 45.08 cents per mile in an EV, and 47.27 cents in a gas fueled car, which means it costs you on average, according to the Department of Energy, 2 cents, 2.19 cents more to have that gas car filled up as opposed to the electric car.
Which DOE study is that exactly, Karl? Do you have the link to hand?
This is not a problem.
Yeah, it's always nice to give something more of a hint when you're talking about pulling numbers from a study, or I might think they came from thin air, because I can find no reference to these suspiciously 4 decimal place numbers anywhere on the DOE website, which isn't to say that they're made up, they just seem odd. Maybe they're numbers he calculated using some numbers somewhere on the DOE website, benefit of the doubt and all. So Karl here is only looking at the cost per mile of fuel. He's ignoring the incidental costs of car ownership, probably for the best really for him, since the cost to own an EV has been demonstrated to be around 3 to 6 times less than a conventionally fueled vehicle, and that might destroy his argument a little. And that was back in March, when the national average price per gallon for petrol was $4.32. That average has now topped $5 per gallon as I write this script. So rather than continuing with his novelty numbers, let's instead look at some actual figures. Our Kia Niro EV, incidentally available for just shy of $33,000 after incentives, it gets an average of 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour. I know I just checked my average efficiency because I'm the kind of weird person who keeps a spreadsheet of average efficiency with each set of tyres on. Now, we, on our last bill, paid just over 9 cents per kilowatt hour for the first 600 kilowatts of entirely renewable energy that we use. But I want to be fair to Karl. I want to give him the best possible odds of it being at least somewhat right. So for everything above that first 600 kilowatt hours, we pay 11.5 cents. Well, 11.5462 cents, since he seems to like false precision. So for every mile my car uses 0.2857 kilowatts. That times 11.5462 gives us a fuel cost per mile of 3.2989 cents per mile. How much did you say it cost per mile again, Karl?
It says it costs roughly 45 cents, 45.08 cents per mile in an EV.
Huh. Odd. I'm now getting this weird urge to check your value for gas cost per mile for no particular reason. So the average fuel economy for the US fleet is 24.9 miles per gallon, and the average fuel cost today, as I'm writing this script, is $5.01.4, which works out, using what I'm going to call actual mathematics, to around 20 cents per mile. A difference between the two of 17 cents per...
It's just completely bogus.
Oh, sorry, Karl. A difference between the two of 16.83765 cents per mile. Again, here we're just looking at fuel costs. No oil changes, brake pads, filter changes, replacement catalytic converters. Hey Carl, how long did you say it would take to make back that cost difference using your willfully misrepresentative cost figures?
1,136,986 miles.
Oh, see, even using your price difference between a gas car and a EV, which we know is wrong, I make it 147,883 miles using an actual accurate figure for the difference. Now, just for funsies, because I'm that kind of person, I re-ran the numbers using a base Kia Niro hybrid and a base Kia Niro EV with the rebate, and just on fuel costs alone, the payback time is around 110,000 miles. That doesn't include any maintenance costs at all, which, incidentally, for my current cost at 30,000 miles is... Nah, you're gonna have to wait for the 30,000 mile Kia Niro report for that one. But as anyone who's owned a gas car will attest, they do like to pop by and see the mechanic. And the mechanic does like to see them, which differs rather dramatically to the disappointed look on the Kia mechanics' faces when they yet again have to tell me that yet again there is nothing to do and no fee to pay come service time. So really, from all of this we can see that Carl can't do basic math or research, and that he seems to want his Fox viewer fans to stay poor and beholden to oil companies. No real surprise there, but it's clear, as is so often the case, the only way to make that case work is to invent numbers that have no real relationship to reality. That's it for today. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back soon with more. If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to leave your thoughts below or in our free to join Discord chat room. There's a link in the video description. If you want a more generalised news roundup in the world of cleaner, greener and safer and smarter vehicles, check out our news roundup show every weekend. And don't forget we produce videos every single day on this network for you to enjoy, ranging from deep dives and features to tutorials, unboxings and reviews. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to this channel and our other channel Transport Evolved Take 2 and give the bell a gentle ring to make sure you're told when our next video goes live. Thanks on behalf of the entire TE crew go out to the folks on my right. They are our $15 to $49 a month supporters. Special thanks to our $50 a month patrons Chris Maxwell, Pedro Muro Pinheiro, Patrick Boyarski, Bennett Elder, Brian Newton, David Kitchen, Michael Goad, Ricky Leong, Andrew Martin, Guido Drahota, Brophy Wolf, Tesla in the Gong, Gordon C, Stephen O'Donoghue, Carl Hodgson, Anthony Coates, Regine Fellows, Jim Burness, Chris Ascenta, Chris and Michael Johnson, Peter Dillinger and Denny Hyde. And our deepest gratitude to our $100 a month Patreon supporters Anonymous Freak, Marcel Ward, Reggie Watts, Joe Bresney, Reed R, JP Fagerback, Russ, Will Graylan, Matthew Drobnak, Rory Litwin, John Lyons, Andrew Glenn, Paul Conway, Laura Reynolds, Ellery Hensley and, of course, Ian. Want to be part of that amazing list? You can join Patreon at the link below. You can hit the join button below to support us on YouTube or show us your support through Bitcoin, Ko-fi or our cool swag store. Links are all down there. And if you're unable to support us financially, just know that watching this video and sharing it makes a real difference to our ad revenue and keeping the algorithm keeping the algorithm well fed. Thanks for joining me, and as always, keep evolving.